So Google has just gone and dropped one of its most powerful AI tools yet. And this isn't some fancy demo. It's live, right now. Today we're going to break down Jules 2.0, an AI that's built to tackle the kind of work many of us thought only a whole team of people could handle.
But, before we get into what it is, let's talk about why it exists. What do you think is the single biggest thing that slows you down when you're trying to build something new? It's probably not what you think. It's usually not the big, headline-grabbing problems.
It's this. It's the invisible friction. It's all the tiny, repetitive, just plain boring tasks that eat up your time, drain your creative energy, and completely shatter your focus. And that is the exact problem that Google is aiming squarely at with Jules.
So let's really dig into that friction. For our first section, we're going to look at this hidden workload, the stuff that developers, especially, have to wrestle with every single day.
Think about your own workflow, right? You're constantly jumping between your code editor, then over to GitHub, then to some internal review tool. And oh yeah, you've got like 20 browser tabs open for documentation. Every time you switch projects, you can burn half a day just getting your setup right again. All these little interruptions, they just add up and they absolutely kill your momentum, your flow state, and that is where this comes in. Google's answer isn't just another little helper tool. No, they're framing Jules 2.0 as your new AI teammate, one that's designed to just take all that friction away.
Now, Google is very specific with their wording here. AI coding agent. And there's a good reason for that. This is not about suggesting the next line of code while you're typing. It's about giving the AI an entire task, like, hey, update all the project dependencies, or find and fix this bug, and just letting it go to work on its own, in the background. So how in the world does it actually do that? Well, when you give it a task, Jules clones your entire repository into its own secure virtual machine on Google Cloud. This is so important because it means it gets the full context of your entire project. Then, it just works on the task in the background, asynchronously, so you're not stuck watching a loading bar. You can go do other things. And when it's done, it'll even explain the logic behind the changes it made.
Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? How does it make your workflow smarter? Let's get into the key features and see how each one is a direct attack on those friction points we just talked about.
First up, pull requests. You know that annoying dance between your code editor and GitHub? Well, instead of all that bouncing around, you can manage the entire process, opening the PR, reviewing the changes, and merging the branch, all from right inside the Jules platform. For teams that merge code all the time, this just eliminates so much wasted time and effort.
All right, next is a feature that tackles a massive headache for pretty much anyone who has to juggle more than one project at a time.
It's called environment snapshots. And honestly, it's a total lifesaver. Jules lets you take a perfect snapshot of your development environment. We're talking all your configurations, dependencies, the whole shebang. You can just freeze it in time, go work on something else for a few weeks, and then come back and restore it instantly. No more of those, what version was I using again moments.
But maybe the most powerful feature of all is something Google calls the Critic Agent. And this quote from the source material, it just captures the idea perfectly. It really is like having a super experienced developer looking over your shoulder.
So the Critic Agent is basically an AI-powered code reviewer that goes way beyond just checking for typos. It uses reinforcement learning to hunt down really subtle bugs, it can spot performance issues, and it'll flag logic that might completely break under certain edge cases. This is the kind of deep, immediate feedback that would normally take a ton of time from a senior human reviewer.
And it doesn't stop there. Jules pulls in other parts of the workflow too. It can surf the web on its own to find the latest documentation. It can run automated browser tests for you, and it can even whip up visual previews so you can see what you're shipping. It's all designed to keep you in that creative flow state. Okay, so with all the AI coding tools popping up, where does Jules 2.0 actually fit in? Let's put it into perspective.
The most obvious comparison is GitHub Copilot, but they're really playing different games. Copilot is your AI pair programmer, right? It's amazing for suggesting code as you're typing. Jules is your autonomous teammate. You give it a whole task, and it just goes and does it while you work on something else. Two very different but very powerful approaches. And what's under the hood? Well, all of this is being powered by Google's most advanced model, Gemini 2.5 Pro. That's what gives Jules the really sophisticated reasoning it needs to understand huge, complex code bases and handle all these multi-step tasks.
All right, this all sounds pretty incredible, but how do you actually get started? Let's talk about the practical side of things, how to put your new AI teammate to work. So the pricing is broken down into a few tiers to fit what you need. It starts with a super accessible Google One plan for individuals.
Then it scales up to an AI Pro plan for people who are going to use it a lot. And then there's an Ultra tier for teams who need a ton of parallel power. But honestly, the most surprising thing here is the entry point. For just a couple of bucks a month, bundled in with a basic Google One plan, you're in. This makes it incredibly accessible for solo devs, students, and hobbyists, not just big companies.
And getting up and running is dead simple. You just go to the website, sign in with your Google account, and then link your GitHub repository. That's it. You're ready to start handing off your first tasks.
So who should be looking at this? Well, if you're a solo developer, this is like an assistant to help you ship way faster. If you're on a team, it's all about reducing that friction we talked about and keeping code quality high. But really, it's for anyone who's ever looked at their to-do list and just wished they could automate all the boring stuff.
And that kind of leaves us with this one last big question. As tools like Jules 2.0 get more and more powerful, what does that really mean for the job of a developer? Are we heading towards a future where our main job isn't writing every single line of code, but instead we become the directors, the architects, the reviewers for AI agents who do the heavy lifting for us? It's a pretty fascinating thing to think about.